So good evening and welcome to tonight's School Board Candidates Forum featuring individuals running to serve on the Marion Independent School District's Board of Directors. My name is Kent Stock and I have the honor to be here tonight as your moderator. A little bit about me and my background in education. I am a very passionate person for education. I'm an unbiased moderator as I live in the Linn-Mar School District and have two daughters in that school district. So I'm unbiased moderator tonight, but I spent 23 years in education, 7 as a teacher, starting in Belle Plaine, and finished 16 years as an administrator at both Belle Plaine and Linn-Mar. I want to thank, first of all, the candidates tonight. I've worked with many school boards across the state of Iowa, worked with many schools and speaking at those schools, and you can tell I thank you for your service by running for a very important and very influential board, the school board. I appreciate your service, School boards play a unique role in school district governance and provide a venue for communities to have democratic input into local education decisions. To effectively execute their responsibilities, school board members must clearly understand district governance and have a strong commitment to advancing student outcomes. As school board members are elected, it is up to voters to select the most informed and competent individuals to fill these roles. Tonight, we are providing an opportunity for our candidates to demonstrate their knowledge of both the conditions that allow boards to be effective and the specific challenges facing their district. This year, voters will elect 4 of these individuals to serve on the board. Tonight, candidates will be asked a variety of predetermined questions. Additionally, we ask members of the audience to submit questions by writing them on the note cards available in the room. If you do not have a card and would like to submit a question for consideration, please raise your hand and Jill will get one to you. Unfortunately, with the limited time we have this evening, we cannot guarantee that all questions will be able to be asked. We will do our best to get through as many questions as possible. We will be presenting questions on a rotating basis, meaning that each candidate will have the opportunity to have both the first and last remarks throughout the evening. Responses will be limited to 90 seconds. We ask that the candidates pay attention to the time cards located here in the front to help us move through as many questions as possible this evening. Let's get started. Thank you to Jill Hansen, David Law, Shelley Pearson, Dennis Trout, and Brent Van Way for your service. Question number 1. Let's begin by asking each candidate to introduce themselves and provide us with a little background as to why they believe they're the best candidate to serve the Marion School District. And we will begin with Jill.
Good evening. My name is Jill Hansen. I am the mother of 3 Marion, 1 graduated, and 2 currently students in the district. I have been involved in the Marion School District many years as a volunteer. I have served the last 5 years as a volunteer at FMI, going into the classroom and reading with the children and serving there, and kind of have discovered that I felt the need that I would like to run for the school board, both through the encouragement of my children and from other people that I have come in contact with, teachers, friends. And I believe that I have something to offer. I am good with communication, I listen, and most of all, I have a heart for the kids. I want to do whatever I can to make their educational experience better. And I want to be a person that the teachers can come to, the administrators can come to, and talk with me and give me their input. I want to hear, I want to listen. And I want to know that what I'm doing is the best possible thing for the students of this district and to support the teachers and the faculty in whatever way I can.
Thank you, Jill. David.
I'm David Law. I'm a retired music educator. I also taught in Belle Plaine, have fond memories there. My wife Jill and I have 2 alumni now from Marion High School. Our daughter is a physicist, sometimes engineer, at the University of Delaware, and our son should have his PhD in genetics this spring. I have always believed in kids first. That's why I felt encouraged to run for the school board, and that has been my guiding policy all the way through directing bands to being on the school board.
Thank you, David. Shelley.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Pearson, and I have lived in Marion since 1991. My previous husband was a 1985 Marion graduate. We have 3 children, and 2 of which have graduated from Marion, and I have a daughter currently in 9th grade. And I have served on the board the last 4 years, and I have a passion for making sure that the education that we provide to our children is the best education that we can possibly give them.
Thank you, Shelley. Dennis.
Hi, I'm Dennis Trout. My wife and I are both graduates from Marion High School. Both my son and my daughter both graduated from Marion High School. So when I was in a lot of athletics when I was in school. So one of my big things is construction and maintenance and facilities. I've been in construction all my life. So I kind of pay attention to what we're doing and building and how much money we're spending and try to help keep control and plus help the administrators deal with things. But on the same token, I don't think the school board should supersede or affect what the administration is trying to accomplish in the school system. Thank you.
And Brett. Go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Brent Van Way. I'm born and raised in Marion, so I attended Marion all of my life, and my wife graduated from Marion as well. We have 3 children that are in the district. I have a senior, an 8th grader, and a 7th grader, and part of that is being Marion proud and understanding what the district's gone through. Within my professional life, I am very much involved in detailed planning, long-term futuristic planning. And the one thing that I've heard as I've talked to different people in the district is they don't know the vision for Marion. Where are we going? What's that 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan? For those people that have kids that have grown or are no longer in the school districts, and you look at your property taxes and things like that that are going up, what is that going for? Where are we going and what are we doing? That is what my passion is about, making sure that we have that long-range plan so that you guys know the vision and we can get excited about the district again. And then the other piece is much what Dennis talked about, right? Empowering the teachers to teach in their classroom and do the things that they are there to do without getting in the way of them. And really building their foundation so that they can then be taught to then teach the kids and move on to that next generation.
Thank you. We'll move on to question number 2, and we will begin with David, and we'll just move to his left as we go around. It's question number 2 based around communication. How will you build consensus and support the community around the work of the school district? Who do you bring with you to the table?
I think one of the beauties of a second smallest school district in the state of Iowa in terms of land mass, 3.5 square miles, I believe, is that we see everybody all the time. You see them at church, you see them in Hy-Vee, you see them at the football games, and it's a good chance for them to come up and talk to us and say, hey, we're interested in this, what's happening here, what's the long-range plan? And so those are the types of things I would bring in, or the comments. I would also solicit comments from people that I trust to have a vision, to have a clear thought pattern as to what we might be missing or what we might consider. And then I would work with the other members of the board and with our administration, because there is a chain of command. I agree that we do not want to micromanage. As in the business world, the board does not micromanage a successful business company. I think we have a lot of successful things that we should be proud of, and that's what I would use. I would talk and listen. I would listen a lot.
Thank you. Shelley.
I feel like I am a very approachable person out in the community. As David said, that we're such a small community that we go to the grocery store, you see people you know. I get approached in the grocery store. The biggest thing is listening to those community members and understanding their opinions and their comments and taking those back to the board and being kind of the middleman to make sure that that concern or issue is brought to the board and hopefully gets addressed. But listening and bringing the feedback of your community and your stakeholders into the boardroom so that it's known.
And Dennis.
Well, I'm always accountable for phone calls and whatever I'm working on. I know a lot of people in Marion, and like I say, it's a small community, but you still have to be very aware of what the parents and students' needs are. And that's probably the number one issue we have to deal with. So there's a fine line of being on the administrator side and also on the side of the parents and students. Thank you.
So how I'm going to be involved is by serving. I am extremely involved in the district. I hold a position within the Marion Music Boosters, and they are involved in almost every facet, from concessions at football games to basketball games, volleyball games, different opportunities throughout the entire year. A major event that happens in the end of February, early March timeframe. And in that, you see the people of the district, right? The people that go to Marion, their parents attend the football games whether they have kids here or not. And they are more than willing to give you their opinion. And so listening to those, listening through being participated in organizations that wear the Marion name but aren't affiliated with Marion, and hearing what their concerns are. I also am very blessed to have a job that's very, very flexible. And so it does give me the opportunity to be able to sit in the classroom and listen and understand what the teachers' concerns are as well as what those of the students are. And being able to use that to come back and bring that back to the board and be able to help inform them of issues that I'm seeing as well and what I'm hearing on the street.
Thank you, Brett.
I have a background in public speaking. I used to do it in high school. I used to do speech competitions, so I have no qualms about going in front of people and talking about what we're doing. I don't, big group, small group. In my job, I am in front of sometimes 300 people. It's going out into the community, letting people know what's going on, not being afraid to visit a group of business people or visit with a group of concerned citizens. And I think being able to be approachable and going out and doing that, or my time in the classroom, I'm in the schools, I'm talking with the teachers, I'm talking with the administrators, and having kids in the district. That means I'm there doing those things, being in places that people can approach me and talk to me. And again, it's just all in being able to talk to people and hear them and be able to correctly speak what's going on in the district.
Thank you very much. The next couple questions will be focused around teachers. And we'll start with Shelley on this one. Do you support performance-based pay for teachers?
I do support performance-based pay for teachers. I believe that they should receive pay based on their performance and accordingly. So, thank you.
Well, I support performance pay too, but there's a fine line on there. How do you judge their performance? I mean, it's easy to say whether the kids got a grade here or a grade here and how they advanced. So there's a fine line on how you base that performance. So it's a very touchy subject. Thank you.
So I'm a big proponent of performance-based pay. Again, I'm going to use my professional life, right? I work in a company that is absolutely how you are ranked and stacked and how your merit is given out at the end of the year. But there's a very key piece of that that I think we're missing in the school district as well. And that is the criteria which you have, that you're judged against, right? You can't go teach and then at the end of the year come in and rate you against some unknown set of criteria, right? It has to be very crystallized as to what it is that you are being held accountable against. And then you do have to meet those. And in doing that, the biggest fear with performance-based is I'm going to keep everything internal because I don't want to teach Dennis anything because otherwise he's going to outperform me. And that's absolutely not what happens. You actually come together and you work better and you build the strengths within the area and you make others better through that system.
I think I agree somewhat with the performance-based pay, but you also have to be very careful because just in going through some of our schools' goals, I was on a committee that looked at what our goals were for the future. And if you base it on certain things, that's not fair to some teachers that have grades that struggle. If they're, we talked about like a transition year of a 5th grade year, is that fair if the teachers, if their performance and their proficiency is going down, but that's a national thing? So you have to make sure that you look at what your criteria is. And I agree that you need to make this like almost a team effort, that everyone supports everyone else. It comes from the top. We're all working together, and we all want the same goal, that all the teachers would be, judged fairly and accordingly. But keeping in mind what your standard is and being very careful in how you choose that standard.
I love the idea. There are a lot of issues involved, though. First of all, we have a lot of mentorship programs in place. We've had more in the last 10 years than we've ever had in the past. We have a lot of teaming time within the schools to help. We have the teacher leadership grant that we're putting into place. We have a lot of things where we're elevating teachers. My concern is that we live in the age of high-stakes testing. And if you're only looking at the tests of 4th, 8th, 11th, we're never going to find anybody to teach those classes, because they're going to have to live and die on what came up to them. And a lot of it depends on, we have a 21%, I believe, free and reduced lunch in this district. The state of Iowa, for 2 years in a row now, has topped 50% free and reduced lunch statistic across the state. There are a lot of issues involved. It's not apples to apples. Sometimes it's not even apples to pineapples. But I love the idea. I'm more concerned that it could be flipped on its head and it could be used in a more detrimental way than maybe it was intended in the first place. I still believe in kids first, and we have to do what's best for the kids. And if you look at the criteria that teachers are evaluated on, there's a lot of things that the evaluators have to go through process every 3 years, I believe. Thank you.
And a great segue into the next question, beginning with Dennis. How should teacher performance be measured, and what are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers?
Well, that's what I said before. I mean, how do you evaluate a teacher? Are you going to go by grade points? Are you going to go by performance? Kids going to college, kids not going to college? I don't know. That's a pretty fine line, and like David said, I don't think they've got it figured out yet. So I'm not sure there's a true way to evaluate teachers yet at this time. I really don't.
So in that system, I would 100% agree that you can't do it just on test scores alone. Being very transparent, I am a horrible test taker. Man, I would feel terrible for any teacher that had me, right? Because I did okay in class, but when it came to a test, forget about it, right? I was not good at it. So their pay is going to get docked because I'm terrible at taking tests. That's not fair to them. So I think the way to go about doing is in getting the teachers involved in that and helping them to determine what criteria they're going to be measured against. Some of it absolutely has to be test. But there are other attributes that I'm sure that can be met and that the teachers will agree with that can make this a win-win for both sides. And again, 100% being focused on the students and making sure that the students are getting the education that we all hope and desire that they're getting.
I agree that I think it would have to be a collaborative effort between the teachers and the administration if we had to come up with something, because it's so hard to judge off of a test score. You can't judge a teacher if she has kids in her class that are that are struggling and they are doing their best. So I think there is more to be put in there than just test scores. I think you have to look at peers, and I think peers want each other to do well too. I think there's pride. I think that teachers want other teachers to be good too. So I think that working together to form some sort of standard would have to include the teachers. I agree totally with that, and then work from there.
And I would like to see those criteria available to any parents upon request. I don't know that I would put them out there on the website for anybody to download, but if a parent was interested in finding out, I think that would certainly be open. It wasn't that long ago in the 50s where we had a 58% illiteracy rate, but people could still own a nice house and go on a nice vacation because we had manufacturing jobs which are no longer available. Also during that time period, if I'm not mistaken, if you were of a certain gender, you would garner a bigger pay raise sometimes than people of the other gender. Sometimes if you are highly successful at an outside activity, your salary went along with that. I don't want to see it become a popularity contest. I don't want the community dictating wins and losses, et cetera, reflected in salaries. It's got to be about the kids. If we're not taking care of the kids, we're not taking care of our future.
I'm not sure that, the teacher evaluations is something that, it's a very fine line, and you're going to have administration and teachers try to determine what those criteria look like. But again, it's a very fine line, and I'm not sure that it's something that you can actually get to at this point. So, but again, like David said, it is about the kids and what's best for the kids.
Thank you. We read a lot in the papers and on the news over the last 6 to 9 months about the state's funding. Do you believe this year's state education funding increase of 1.25% is the new norm? And if so, how do districts overcome these financial hurdles? And we will begin with Brent.
Wow, thank you.
Predetermined order.
Again, I haven't been part of the school board. School finances, from what I understand, and listening to them, and I've attended many board meetings, they're probably some of the most complex finances that are out there. There's different colors of money for everything that can be spent in different ways. Getting to the point of the question, yeah, my hope is that no, this isn't the future of funding for schools. When you're given merit increases of 3-4% and your budgets are going up 1.2, I don't know how you stay solvent very long, right? So the state's going to have to address it. They're going to have to do something. Do they have the appetite for it? How are they going to go about doing it? I don't have any confidence that it's going to get done. So it's going to take creative math to go get it done, and it's going to be a challenge.
I too hope this isn't the new norm, and I think that's where voters have to come in and say, this isn't, if this is something that you're passionate about, this isn't what we want. We want our schools to be fully funded. We want things to happen. We don't want unfunded mandates. And that's a killer to the school boards in making these decisions is these unfunded mandates. So I think sometimes that the people, as in the public, have to take some ownership and say, hey, this is not okay. But in going through that, you have to be, again, you do have to be creative. You have to look at what's out there. And I have confidence that our new business manager is doing a remarkable job in helping our school get back to where it needs to be. I think you need to listen to people that are the experts in the area and find out what you can do and what you can't do, and be mindful of different things that are going to come down the road. In addition to maybe the state not funding everything, are we going to have a dip in our tax base because of different things that happen? So you have to be really mindful of those things and be very frugal sometimes, but at the same time think outside the box and utilize these people in our district that have great ideas, and our administrators, and try to have a good consensus of what we can do.
Funding is a real challenge. There are categorical funds, which are sometimes called buckets, and you can't move money from one bucket to another bucket just like you can at home. You can quit paying a newspaper subscription and move it to your cable TV, or cancel cable TV and move it to whatever. Schools do not have that option. My personal preference, which I know will not happen because I have spent many, many visits down to the state capitol, I would just have them give us the money, and we, local control leaders, could decide what's best for our kids. Isn't going to happen. And so I think we need to continue to expand and look at partnerships throughout the community, using other people's knowledge bases, bringing them into the classrooms, helping them. Our robotics team has several partnerships going on right now. And again, that's what's best for kids. In terms of dealing with the state, I'll leave that to our new superintendent, who is much more diplomatic, I think, than I am.
I would certainly hope that that is not going to be the trend going forward. However, as a board member, I would take upon myself to encourage anybody in the community to contact your legislator to let them know that this is not okay and that they need to start funding the schools appropriately so that we can provide the best education our district can for every child in the district.
Well, I think it's gonna be the norm. I think we're gonna have a tough time getting money out of the legislation for education, which is a shame, because education should be our number one thing. We're taking care of our kids. Another thing is, maybe everybody won't agree with this, but I think maybe our tax incentives for businesses and industries moving into town are hurting us also. I mean, and so instead of us getting taxes from a business, they're giving the business a tax relief, and we don't see any of that money. Or they might put the tax relief in somewhere else than our district, which doesn't help us either. Thank you.
Thank you. And a follow-up question from the audience, and we'll continue in that same order, beginning with Brent, is how can Marion schools grow? You were starting with you, because this is kind of a follow-up question that fit nicely into there from the audience.
Boy, we're landlocked. So either build up or I don't know how you grow. I think at the last board meeting that I sat through, it was kind of refreshing. We had a gentleman in from, I don't know if he was Marion City Council but he gave an update on the 7th Avenue project, right? And so some of what they're trying to do in revitalizing the Uptown Marion is actually make it a town square for a population the size of Marion. Not what it was 50 years ago, but what it is today. And some of that does mean taller complexes, and some of that is for housing. And so from a finance piece, we can grow the district through those funds and the tax base that's going to come off of those. How do you grow the number of students? I don't have the answer to that, but when I listened to the administration talk today, that's really not a problem, because our kindergarten and first grade classes are the biggest we've ever had. And if those trends continue, by the time they get to high school, Mr. Z sitting in the back of the room is going to have a really big problem because he doesn't have room to put them all. So.
With growing, it's sometimes that if you want to grow, if you want to be bigger, it's making yourself as a school more attractive. What do we do that's special? What do we have that other people want to bring their kids to? They want to open enroll. So I think making your school attractive to people to see that they're excited about it and they want to be a part of it is one way to make it grow. I also was excited to hear Lon, our city manager, talking about how we can grow our tax base. Bringing businesses in, helping that in that area is huge for Marion because we are landlocked. So revitalizing, finding places that could be viable businesses and helping them grow eventually comes back to us. I mean, his projections for our tax base is very encouraging if all of this comes to fruition. So supporting that and being part of that would be a way to grow our finances.
Those are really only the two ways to grow. One is financially, with a multi-million-dollar projected business development down 7th and 6th Avenue in the next 12 to 15 years. There's a financial incentive to the district which will allow us to do additional things. There's a big chunk of dirt on the other side of Highway 100, which has been nicely leveled off, which also is in the Marion district. If and when that becomes developed, there's additional money that would come in for us to be able to use to continue to attract good, energetic, high-quality teachers, to continue to maintain our facilities. I like the fact that we have a vision down the road of increased practical technology development in the schools and partnership with that, but it still comes down to it's kids, and open enrollment is our lifeblood, and we are so good at it that our sister districts have spent a lot of money sending out postcards and flyers, I believe, to your houses and mine, attempting to duplicate what we're doing already with really good quality faculty and a vision and being very attractive. We are not on the bleeding edge, but we are on the cutting edge, and that's a good place to be.
I think open enrollment is a huge opportunity for us to increase our district. I think with that, it also comes with the responsibility of making sure that all of your facilities, your buildings, your sports complex are all appealing and attractive to those that are outside of our community to want to come and bring their children into our community. And, you know, word of mouth, the fact that we have wonderful teachers within our school system that go above and beyond for our children and do extra programs after school. We just need to promote our school and then increase our open enrollment and keep that piece of it going since we are landlocked. Thank you.
Well, I think maybe a good idea is to work with people to get development going in the Marion School District. But also, maybe we need to sit down with our legislators, administrators, and people and look about maybe expanding our boundaries a little bit and share with Linmar on some items. I know at one time there was some talk that we gave some land to Linmar and they give us some land. I know Jim Copper was a big driver on that, but it fell through, so. But there's just a lot of things, other things you can also do to go there too.
Thank you very much. And I'm not texting, I was setting up my clock, so I didn't have to look like that, so if anybody was asking. Next question, beginning with Jill. Do you see opportunities for the district to partner with other community stakeholders to realize operational efficiencies?
I think that Marion's doing that right now with their robotics program. They are partnering with Rockwell, and they're bringing these great minds in there to help the kids and expand their knowledge on engineering areas. And I think that's a great starting point. I think there's other, we can be looking for these opportunities to have people come in from the community. Maybe they don't have kids in the district, but maybe they just want to share their knowledge and they want to be there with the kids. And I think that is a great opportunity to not only supplement our kids' education, give them more experience, give them new challenges, different things to have, but also to draw the community in and let them be a part of our school district and let them see what we're doing and to grow and have care about these kids, and it makes them more involved and more willing to help and do different things.
I think in terms of partnering with the community, we were the leaders first and foremost in the field. I think we do it very well. I want to see us continue to move in maybe unusual directions. But in terms of just monetary using community value from a business standpoint, wow, if we had a place to store it, if we could communicate like we are the Metropolitan Insurance Plan in the area here, if we could find a warehouse big enough and we could buy 17,000 semi-loads of toilet paper, we could maybe cut our costs. But maybe we can investigate something like Southwest Airlines when they paid 10 years in advance for all the jet fuel they thought they were going to need, and they locked in an incredibly low price. I think those possibilities are out there. We just have to be outside the box. Our new business manager is very capable of looking in those directions. Our new superintendent brings ideas in from a different area of the country, and I'm open to all of those as possibilities.
I think our district does a great job partnering with other communities and businesses in our area. One thing I'd like to just make sure that we're all aware of is a great project that is within the school system is the home building project that we partner with Linmar. And so we have teachers and students from both communities, and we purchase a lot, and the kids build the school or build the house, and we turn around and sell it. But it's a great project, it's a great community builder, and it's a great partnering program with another school district. So I think we do an awesome job with partnering and leaving the door open for new opportunities all the time to come through. Thank you.
We do a great job with Marion partnering on things like the YMCA went in with us on our exercise room at the school. But we need to keep communicating with them. I know that I've talked to some people that are involved in supporting things in Marion, and they're talking that Marion wants to do a new library, they want a new a place for people to have things going on. But that's one of the things I think maybe we could talk to the Marion about maybe sharing a performing arts center and saving a lot of money in that direction. There's always more directions to move with sharing with the city. And once you have investors that are willing to get into those things too.
Yeah, so 5 times in a row, right? We do a very good job partnering with the community, from STEM opportunities to robotics, the building trades. I was part of the first class that did that, and man, the skills and trades that I learned in doing that, and my wife will have to be the testimony as to whether there's quality behind it, and she doesn't get to use the fact that nothing ever gets finished as to whether or not there's quality. But you know, those are things that I have learned, and I will keep with me over the course of my life as I continue to be involved in different projects. We have a great student base that goes in and works with CAD drawings, and there's opportunities in the trades. If I looked at the studies right, there is a demand for welders. There is a demand for trades, and those aren't low-paying jobs. Those are very high-paying jobs, and so there's opportunities in there. I think there are other opportunities. You know, in the prior question, we talked about being landlocked. I looked at moving down into Creekview Courts, which is right behind Menards. There are 2 houses down there that are in Washington District. Everything else is Marion. Well, that's ridiculous, right? How much does Washington spend driving a bus over there to pick up those kids? Are there different ways that we can work with those communities to move those kids into the Marion District and do opportunities like that? And then other opportunities, partnering with businesses in the uptown and the other opportunities as well.
Thank you. Next couple questions will focus around school board functions. And we'll begin this one with David. Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these 2 offices?
The superintendency should be a focal point for decisions made in the district. We have a leadership team. They can get input, draw that, bring it forward, and then it should be presented to us on the school board for our consideration, our thoughtful consideration, and where we move from there. My concern has always been that we have a leader who has a vision and a destination and a map to get there. And I think that we will be able to do that. I'm really pleased to say that at our last board meeting, we found out that we are, every category in Marion is in the black. Not by very much, but we're in the black, and it's not like it was 2 years ago. So things have really come a long ways. We're on the right track. I want us to keep going in the right track, but I want that vision, and we're working on that. I believe we have a board retreat coming up. We're going to sit down and outline short-range, midterm, and long-range goals, how we're going to get there, what the plan is, very similar to the 20-year plan that some of us sat on years ago, where we said we need this, we need this, we need this. And then when the opportunity came, we said, yeah, that's on the plan. It might not be in the order that we wanted it, but we better buy the Longfellow building back so we have something that we can do. So just knowing where we want to go and how to get there is huge, and I think the superintendent is that focal point from the district up to us as a board.
I think as a board, there should be a working relationship with the superintendent. The ideas should be able to be thrown out on the table to figure out what is the best direction for the school district and the kids within the district, and what kind of plan are we going to get to that end result that we're looking at. But I think it should be a relationship in which or responsibilities of the board. You know, you bring in your community members' ideas, concerns, and you know, they want you to be their voice at times and help and get some sort of resolution for those issues. So you're serving your community, but you're also working closely with the superintendent to try to further the district in any way possible.
Well, as a board, I think we've hired a pretty good superintendent, and hopefully we can work with him well. But the big issue is to make sure we communicate with the superintendent, administration, and take their recommendations and work with them. The worst thing this board can do, any board, is to micromanage. Thank you.
I would agree. I had the opportunity to sit on the community panel and interview the current superintendent, and the vision that he has is fantastic, and it would be absolutely wrong of us to get in the way of that. But there are things that we're gonna have to put in check, right? There are things that are gonna come up that we're gonna have to be involved in, as well as, he's one person, right? There's a board of many, and we can go help be the eyes and ears and the feet on the ground to understand exactly what's going in or going on, and then consider the vision that is given by the superintendent and apply correction where it's needed, or empower that vision to move forward. But you absolutely can't micromanage and really can't get in the way of the administrators, right? The administrators are there to do their job. They have their own goals and objectives that they have to get done. Those have been handed down to them. And to get in the way and meddle in what they're trying to do and give them limitations here and there, it just causes everybody to have to slow down, and it ultimately costs the students.
I think you look at it as a little bit like we're the representatives. We've been elected by the people to serve in their interests of their children. And we take that, but we let the administration lead. And they have their ideas. We are there to support, and sometimes we might be there as a sounding board, or we might be there as a support network, or we might be there to say, hey, you know what, this isn't what the parents are wanting. This isn't, maybe we should rethink this. But I think you look at it as we are there for the people. They come to us, we let the administration lead and do what they need to do. We kind of are the buffer. We are the ones that take on what people have to say, and that's our job. Our job is to listen, and our job is to respond, but our job is ultimately to let the people we feel that are doing what we want them to do their job, because we need to understand that that's not our job. We don't want to take and do everything, but we want to be there to be that buffer between them.
Thank you. Shelley, please describe your past experience with conflict resolution and consensus building.
Conflict resolution. I'm not a person that likes conflict, first of all. I will do my best to work through that with the individual or the person or, the board if I have a conflict with a decision that has been made or, whatever. But you always work through it. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Your past experience with conflict resolution and consensus building.
For consensus building, I would say you need to make sure that you have all of the facts that you're trying to convey, and hopefully with providing the facts that you can have a consensus of, if you're voting on something, get a consensus on it with the facts that you've presented. Thank you.
Conflicts are tough, and we've had one. We've had several in Marion. In fact, while I was on the school board, we had a big issue where we were going to put the football field, and there was a lot of people who had a lot of different opinions, and a lot of them, their opinions are loud. So they were. So in the end, we put it kind of not to a vote, but we let the people give us their thoughts and their input, and it ended up that it stayed where it is, and we didn't move it. So I guess personally, I was for moving it, but once the consensus was out, that's what we stuck with, so we agreed to it, and then that's what we did with it. So that was a pretty big conflict.
There's a few people out there in this world that enjoy conflict immensely, but most of us don't, right? And so probably the biggest learning in this area that I've ever had is there's two books, Crucial Conversations and Crucial Conversations. And those are fantastic books, and it all focuses on the story, right? If I make up your story for you, we're going to end up in conflict, right? But I have to sit down, I have to listen to what you have to say. I have to be open to what you're saying, and I actually have to actively listen to what you're telling me. that right there takes away a lot of conflict. And then you can throw all the buzzwords at it you want, you know, WIFMs and what's in it for, or win-win, and so WIFM, what's in it for me, win-win, making it a positive. And you can get there a lot easier, right? It's very easy for me to accept defeat if I understand the rationale that's behind it, right? But if I don't explain myself, think of parenting, right? I make rules for my kids. I don't tell them why. It's the rule, right? I'm dad. It's how it is. That's confrontation because I didn't give justification and reason behind it. Doesn't mean they have to agree with the rules that come down. But by explaining them, they get it and they understand it. And I think that's how a lot of confrontation can be resolved, is just through clear and open communication. The last thing that we can afford to do as a district, though, is sit there and wait for consensus, right? Think of sailing a ship. If you wait for 100% of people to get on the boat, that boat's never going to leave the dock. At some day, you have to throw the lines and leave the poor suckers behind, and you're going to go do things. And you might fail, but it's okay to fail, because then you quickly correct it and you move on in the right direction.
I think the key to conflicts resolution is listening. Being a good listener, willing to hear what people have to say, giving them an opportunity to express their opinion in a way that you respect what they're saying and give them the time to express it. And I find that once people are able to say what they feel, then if they hear you talking, or if you allow them to talk and you do it in a respectful manner, oftentimes they'll listen to you. And once you have that good two-way communication, once you have that relationship where you say, all right, I want to listen to what you have to say. I think it's important. I may not agree with you, but I'm going to hear you out, and I'm going to listen to everything that you have to say. Then I turn around, and if I've given that person the respect of listening to them, oftentimes they will come back and say, okay, now you tell me your reasoning behind this. So I feel like communication is key. I've always felt that. I work for a church, so conflict resolution, I got it. So you just have to be able to be open and willing to listen to others.
When you say the word conflict, you immediately imply emotions. And I would hope to do a great deal of listening, but I would also want to start asking some clarifying questions so that I could really find maybe what is at the heart of the emotional cloud sometimes that is surrounding the issue. I would like to step aside a little bit, talk to some other people, come back. I'm not so sure that I would be a consensus builder as I would be more comfortable being a mediator. And then coming back and explaining, this is a situation, these are the things, the tools that we have available for us to use. It would be in the best interest of the students if we used this tool and this tool, and then kind of read the body language from the people around. If that doesn't resolve it, might have to go to a higher authority.
Very good. Next one kind of merged together a question that came in from the audience, which ties in with this question. And we will begin with Dennis on this question. How does today's education system need to evolve to best equip students to compete in our global economy? And that's looking at all academic levels of students, from the high achieving, the student like me that was in the middle of the road, or the kid that's really struggling. And I can repeat that question if we need to. Yeah. How does today's education system need to evolve to best equip students to compete in our global economy?
All right, we definitely need to improve. Myself in the construction trade, I never went to college, but you don't have to go to college to make a good living. So, and I feel we've got a lot of improvement to do in our education system to make sure all students are prepared to do what they want to do when they leave school and go to college, tech school, go to two-year college. There's so many different things we can teach our kids, like Brent was talking about welders and CAD people. My company, Modern Piping, we do a ton of CAD work. We hired 2 new CAD guys again the other day. We've got 20 CAD guys working for us. And there's other companies that are looking for CAD guys. and welders are in short demand. And the construction trade is really hurting for employees now. So there are so many ways we can go to improve our education for our students, besides college, and college is a good thing, if that's people where they're headed. But there's so many other directions kids can go. And then we also have kids that are special needs kids. They gotta have attention to what they wanna do in life. Maybe it's not gonna be making a big salary, but they gotta be able to live and support themselves. Thank you.
So I think the easy answer is to just, throw technology at it, right? And I apologize to the superintendent, I'm gonna steal his interview answer. When it came to this, I think the biggest thing that we need to do is when you look at our students in the classroom, right? Pre-K through third grade, you gotta focus on literacy and really make sure that the kids can read and read well and read above their grade. And if they can't, you gotta get them there, because that's the foundation of everything else, right? And one of the things that I think would be very unique to go find out is, do the kindergarten and first grade teachers, second grade teachers understand that what they're teaching, how that impacts at the high school level? And if not, then it's time to put a mentorship program in, much like what I think you talked about in your interview answer, to where we're bringing the high school teachers down and we're educating the junior high teachers and the intermediate teachers at FMI, and then all the way down into the elementary, where they now understand that the math skills and how they tie into each successive grade as they move forward. And then ultimately, you can throw technology at it, right? Our kids are tech savvy. Our teachers might not be as tech savvy. So you got to teach the teachers how to use technology so that they can teach the students. And it's a multi-year approach, but I think there is something that needs to be done. I got to watch my kid bring a textbook home last year that I used when I was in school. That was 25 years ago, right? It's time to update our books, because they're not getting the relevant information that they need today. And so I think those are some of the things that you have to go do immediately.
I think when you talk about globally, with the global market, you also have to expose the kids to the world out there. What is out there? What can they be part of? And making sure that they understand that. And then also understanding that almost every facet of our lives is going in the technological direction. From CAD being in the workplace for, architecture and building, you have to have that infrastructure in place. And again, I agree with the comment that we have to teach the teachers. You can't just throw this technology and say, hey, we did it, here it is. You have to educate, you have to equip the teachers with the knowledge that they need in order to teach the kids that might know more than they do. So we need to have that in place, but you need a plan. What do we want? Technology comes and goes. What's going to be for the long haul? What do we need to have as our infrastructure? What do we need? And look at that and base what we want to do off of that. And like I said, we need to expand the kids to look outside their back door. And if we want to talk about global, we have to expose them to that.
Well, I'm going to go against the common perception. I think education is doing a pretty good job. We are way ahead of where we were in the 1950s. We don't deal with Dick and Jane and Spot and Puff. We better not be, because your kid's cell phone has more computational power than all of NASA did when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. That's a sobering thought. We are doing a great job of preparing them for what they might encounter. Those kindergartners, half of them are going to work at jobs that don't even exist now, and we couldn't even imagine. So we can't prepare them. I am concerned that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Reading is a huge factor, very important. If you can't read, you're going to have a very difficult time in this world. Not impossible, but very difficult. We do creativity better than any other country in the world. Japan just spent $5 billion trying to figure out how we do it. They have never had a Nobel Prize laureate in creativity. They didn't make the cell phone. They made it better. All right, so we have a lot of good things that we need to hang on to, but trying to gaze into that crystal ball, that's quite a challenge, and reading is a key factor, and staying flexible and aware of trends in the world and in the country is also a big factor.
I think we do a pretty good job. I think that we do have some room for improvement. If we could bring in more technology, teach the teachers how to teach the children. But one piece is we need to do a better job of identifying each child's individual interests or passion that they may see themselves pursuing once they leave the high school. And if we can provide them with, additional classes that will help facilitate those interests. Like, I believe at Vernon Middle School, we offer like a project-based classroom, which teaches, working in groups and, outlining and kind of like being at a job, so to say. So I think we need more of those types of things so that when the children get to 12th grade, they kind of have a feel for what their interest and passion is and have a little bit of background to pursue that beyond high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question will begin with Brent. How will you communicate your work to your constituents? And however that communication is developed by each of you, what are 3 things or 3 topics that would be the focus of your updates?
Communication's a tough gig, right? Because how do you communicate? You post it on the website, now everybody checks the website. You put it in the paper, now everybody reads the paper. You put it on social media, I don't know, maybe everybody in the room does it, I don't, right? I get picked on by my family frequently. I'm not the social media guy. I don't understand Twitter, I don't understand Facebook, I don't do those things. So communication is very difficult, and how you deliver it to the people. So you can do newsletters and things like that. Does it get read? I don't know. To me, the 3 focus areas for me is really what the vision is, right? You've got to get the people of the Marion Community District excited about what the vision is, where they're going, or at least knowledgeable about where we're going, right? The second piece is education. At the Gazette interview I talked about, when I was in high school, I got to go my junior year and my senior year to Des Moines and accept the Fine Award, first in the nation in education, for Marion. It's engraved on the side of the high school, right? I'm sure that 4-letter acronym is long gone and been replaced with something else. But what are we doing to compete in the education thing? I look at the Gazette once a year and it talks about where we're ranked. We're not in the top 10. Now, part of that's how do you rank those, right? Is it AP based? Is it not? And then finally, where everybody cares the most, right? It's the school finances. It's your taxes. How are your taxes going to be impacted by the vision and strategy that we have going forward? And by creating that well-rounded message, I got to believe that it's going to hit every person right where they are most passionate, and it's going to want to open communication, at least I hope.
I think you use all forms of technology. I think you, for communication, but you also keep in mind that some people don't use those, and you make sure that you continue to use those areas that a lot of people read, the newspaper, or like I said earlier, just going out and being part of the public, going into a group, telling people what's going on, so then they can communicate to others, giving them good information and helping them understand what's going on in the school. I think you need to definitely, budget always seems to be a concern. People are concerned about it, what's going on with it. So that's one area that you would need to communicate. I also think you need to tell what's going on in the schools, get people excited. What are these teachers doing? Show them by having kids go out and communicate. Our robotics team goes out and does some of their own fundraising by presenting what they're doing. So having the kids communicate to and I remember going out when I was a kid, I went on one of the trips and I had to present to our Kiwanis Club. And I told them what we were doing so that they had a better understanding of what was going on in the community. The kids are great communicators if you let them. I also feel like you need to let them know what our vision is also and what's going on and what are the long-range plans, and so that they have a better idea of what the future holds.
Well, in real estate, they say location, location, location. And I'm a people person, and I have always believed in enthusiasm, enthusiasm, and enthusiasm. And sometimes that's a bit overwhelming for some people. But if you find me at one of the local grocery stores or getting what my daughter deplores as that gas station coffee mix in the morning, I will tell you something good about Marion. Did you realize that we are the first Blue Zone high school in the world? I would love to see a little bit more print media paid attention to that. Did you realize that our cross-country team had a wonderful opening meet? You know, there's great things going on, but the best way to communicate it is face-to-face. So there's your challenge. If you see me, ask me something good about Marion, because I can probably tell you.
I think communication is key. In addition to that, being visible in the district to your community members, and just having that, you know, warm welcoming, to be approachable so that they can come up and speak with you, and you can tell them something good about the Marion district, because there's so many good things to talk about this district. And I think the three key things that need to be communicated and everybody's interested in is, again, the finances. Everybody's always interested in where the district is going financially. The other piece of interest I feel would be is the facilities and the appearance of our facilities and the vision that we have for the property we bought over at Longfellow. Where's the vision for that? What's the plan? How many years out are we looking at? You know, everything. You know, the community is interested in those kinds of things. I mean, if you're going to Hy-Vee and you're on 10th Avenue, you're driving by it every day. You know, I don't know about you, but I go to Hy-Vee about 5 times a week. So, you know, I always look at it. So I think it's important to communicate and be visible in the district so that people know that you're out there and that you care.
Well, communication can be tough. Not all people communicate well. And probably the biggest thing to do is try to learn to communicate in all the new ways there are. But face-to-face is probably as good as any. So you need to make yourself accountable and accessible for good communication. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question kind of ties in with an audience question that came in. What do you feel are the district's greatest capital needs right now, and how should they be addressed? The audience question was more specific to certain facilities, but I'll repeat that again. What do you feel are the district's greatest capital needs right now, and how should they be addressed? And we begin with Jill.
There's a lot of need. So it's hard to pick one particular thing. We're going to be building a new elementary, and I had kids going through Emerson, so that's huge. Emerson was not a great place as far as structural wise, but it had wonderful teachers in it. And amazing, and my kids still love their days at Emerson, but that need was there to, you know, create a new building because of safety issues, because of accessibility issues. So I think going forward with that is one of our main priorities, is just getting that taken care of and getting that through. Other areas, I think we need to look at the different schools and what is needed in there. We've talked long and hard about the fact that we need areas for our performing arts in the high school. We have 166 kids out for choir. That's a lot of people in that small auditorium. So looking at those needs and seeing what the kids need to better themselves and to help our teachers better them, I think that's where we start looking.
Well, the key word in capital needs is capital. I just learned in terms of finance that once you pay off one bond issue, the interest on the other bond issue goes up. Welcome to the world of school finance. Definitely we have to complete Longfellow. We need to be looking, and we have been looking. The district has a 10-year needs plan in terms of school bus, everything from school buses to replacing the center core of the high school, which is the only air-conditioned part of the high school. You know, it's interesting, people that talk about year-round schools do so from inside their air-conditioned offices. And if they drove by their schools on Saturdays and Sundays, they'd see cars in the parking lots all the time anyhow. We're utilizing everything that we have, but that 10-year comprehensive guide to look ahead, and several of the people in this room sat on the committee with me for the 20-year plan. So we know that ideally we would love to, when the time comes, buy up those 2 blocks south of Vernon and put in a practice football field and a practice track so our kids aren't running all the way up to the high school or running all the way down to Thomas Park and things like that. So the planning is there, but the capital is the key.
Yeah. I would say that in regards to the facilities, probably 3 priorities I would throw out there would be the restrooms at the football field, air conditioning in all buildings, everywhere in the building, and Longfellow, completing that and getting those Emerson kids moved over to the new facility. Thank you.
Well, of course, Longfellow's our number 1 issue to get done, because education is the number 1 in our Marion district. And from that point, the other side of education is to make all the buildings a comfortable place to learn and be educated properly. Performing arts and athletics, they're definitely all in a great need. The only thing we could do is maybe go out and try to find support and to get some funding going, because as far as straight across the board, we're not going to be able to fund them for a long time. Thank you.
So that's what it comes down to me, right? Capital plan. It's like, I think David talked earlier, it's a consumption choice. What bill am I going to pay this month? What am I going to go do? So I will tell you, I do sit in an air-conditioned office all day long, right? My kid today did not. He sat in a room that was not air-conditioned. I have 2 kids that were blessed. They got to sit at Vernon all day, right? And they got to be in air conditioning. But is that where I want to see the district spend their money? In 2 weeks, it's not going to be 90 degrees outside. Does it make sense to spend $1 million to go air-condition schools for a few days? I don't know that it does. Does it make sense to go revitalize the football field? I grew up playing football there, right? I would love to see that thing revitalized. I would love to see some pavement. But it's 5 games a year. Yeah, and then there's a track season, but the fan base isn't huge for track, right? So is that the place that you go spend multiple millions of dollars to go do? Performing arts, I get it. There's 166 kids in choir. They're supposed to have a choir room. They don't sit in a choir room. They sit in the auditorium. The auditorium's old. It's outdated. The teachers have done a really good job of getting their message across. They go use Linmar's auditorium, right? They're proving the point that we don't have the space. But there are rules and there's regulations about it. Longfellow, absolutely have to go do. I think that's what we need to do, is we need to sit down and rack and stack what those priorities are, and then go look at how do they fit the finances, and what is the best thing for our limited number of dollars. Air conditioning, great. I made you comfortable for 10 days a year. Now, I probably made the teachers more comfortable when they're there during the summer doing their projects, right? But did we spend the money in the right areas? And that's the thing that we have to go do, and that's part of communicating it back to the district so that they know why we're doing the things we're doing.
Thank you. Next question focuses on partnerships, and we will begin with David. How should our business community, colleges, and universities work together to improve the educational environment in this region?
I think our business leaders are very aware of the need and are very willing to extend whatever resources they have, although they're not going to write a $50 million check. But they do have knowledge-based people that they can send into the classrooms. They can help. They can extend the learning possibilities. They can provide unpaid internships. I'm not sure there is any other kind now in the business world. For our students, maybe for 3 or 4 days, whatever, that type of thing. So you can really find out maybe as a sophomore if being an engineer is really what you want to do, or what kind of an engineer would you really like to be. We have all of those things available to us. Our partners farther up the educational ladder are a little slower to see the need. They will, but the bubble hasn't hit them yet. Some of our Regents institutions, we have people in place who are saying, whoa, we need to get moving. We need to make some changes. We need to find out what's going on, because they're a business, okay? They got to attract the kids or else they're out. So I think that that's slowly happening, but the ivory tower is going to be a challenge to breach.
I think our students are offered many opportunities in the district with our business partners and our educational partners. There are a lot of opportunities for them to expand their growth and knowledge in a particular area that they're interested in, or pursue additional college courses for college credits with the partnering of our universities here locally. So I think we have very good connections, and there's always room to grow. I mean, there's no limitation in this area, because you wouldn't want to put any limitations on there, because you want each and every child to have the best education available to them and in what their interests and needs are.
Well, it's tough out there, and that's kind of, I'm not sure I want to say that, but the businesses that are out there now, so many of them are on such a fast track that they're not interested in doing this with students. Some are, some aren't. So it's tough to find them. And it's kind of our job, or our administrators and everybody else, to go out and try to find them. And that's how we can find them. But it is, the business is so fast track that companies don't want to get involved in it a lot. And as far as our colleges around here, Kirkwood is second to none to come in here and work with our kids to go and train and learn things. I mean, they're advanced out there at Kirkwood is unbelievable. If you don't believe me, you should go out there and take a tour here someday, because what they teach out there is unbelievable. Thank you.
So I apologize. Clarifying question on this.
Yes.
Was it just colleges, or was it colleges and business?
Our business community, colleges, and universities.
So I think we do a great job in the district partnering with the local colleges, specifically Kirkwood, seeing the opportunities the kids have for AP classes, the college classes, being able to do those things. I think that's very good, and it's only going to continue to increase as we move down the road. I think we've done a good job partnering with the businesses in some areas, and I will tell you, cover the company I work for a minute, but I think we fail as a company with the kids, right? So I've been in areas where we brought kids in and we've given them tours. We built some really cool stuff. That's not what we show them, right? We show them the stuff that they might as well be filming a Frankenstein movie and doing. And the kids come and they're like, oh, that was cool, but I don't know, right? My kid probably is sitting at home right now playing some crazy, super sophisticated video game. If he got to go to our local companies and see how they do that and how they employ math and science to go do that, right? You might be intrigued enough to go invest deeper into that. How do we go do with welding? I don't know how well we are partnered right now with weld shops, right? Do we have them coming into the classroom? Do we have opportunities for our kids to go intern with them? I know there are some intern things. It's not the same as when I was there when you did a work study. Thank you for the waving sign. I can't see Jill, so she's got to like fan me or something.
That's my fault. I'm not looking either, so I'll do a better job, Jill.
Great job. Keep it up.
I think finding opportunities for job shadowing, I think more one-on-one type of atmosphere for the kids is kind of a better idea than a group going in. That way the kid might feel more comfortable asking a question. The student may, learn something that they don't when they're in a group. So I think if we find opportunities for job shadowing in areas that might be out of the box and let kids explore some areas and think about some new things. The other thing is I'd like to see the universities be giving more input as to what they want to see the kids knowing before they come to college. It was an eye-opener having a college student and kind of realizing some of the study habits in different things that he needed, some kind of like having opportunities to do more time management, different things, finding out what the universities expect out of these kids. When you're cut out of the loop as a parent, when they're in college, it's an eye-opener, because they communicate with your student, not with you. So getting some more information from those colleges, what are you expecting out of my student, would be wonderful. Kirkwood is a great asset. My children have taken advantage of that and used it wisely to help them further their education and get college credit courses out of the way. I would like to see that expanded. Kirkwood's a great resource. It's a wonderful opportunity for our students to help lower their education costs and maybe get out in 4 years. So I think that would be a great way to continue with Kirkwood.
Thank you. We'll begin with Shelley. In your view, no, is it, David just began the last one, right?
Yeah, because I ended.
Wouldn't it be nice if the colleges gave you a back-to-school list that you could just...
Just like, they need to know.
Mike
this
gonna have to
is
give
what-
detentions tonight? No, I'm teasing. Easy question, not easy question, but a feel-good question. In your view, what has district done well over the past 5 years? And what are some things that they may have to overcome in the future?
I think the district has done an excellent job encouraging our teachers to come together and collaborate, to bounce things off each other, to say, yes, this worked, this didn't work, let's try this way, and if it didn't work, you know, that's fine, at least we know it doesn't work. To try to do it the best way possible for the students' education. And I think just with that, all the positive things in the community or in the district that occur in various buildings, you know, we're good about letting everybody know those positive things, because we want people to see all the good that comes out of this school district, because it's really an awesome district to be part of, not only serving on the school board, but also having children graduate from the school district and then go out and go to college and be successful. It's all a reflection of this district, so you want to continue that and facilitate those things. Thank you.
Well, our reflection must be pretty good, because we're one of the largest homeschools in the Midwest, and as you know, our open enrollment is second to none. So I believe people really believe in what we do and teach, and the atmosphere at our schools and the community involvement in it.
So I don't want to be the naysayer. I agree with those things, right? We have a great homeschool program. I've known several kids that have gone through it. We have a huge open enrollment. What's the reason for open enrollment, right? Is it because we have the best teachers and the best education in the area? Sure like to think so, but that'd be awful naive of me to believe that. I think we have opportunities that other schools don't, right? If you want to play football at Linn-Mar, you better be darn good or you're going to be sitting on the bench. Not saying that you don't have to be good to play at Marion, but you have more opportunities to play some of those sports and do extracurriculars at Marion that you might not other places. And so those things are great, but I don't want to cloud the fact that we are some fantastic district because we have those two things happening for us. I don't want to take away from them either. I think the things that we've done really, really good, like every coin, right, it's got two sides. We had some really difficult budget decisions a couple of years ago that we need to make. Some teachers got let go. Some programs got cut back. Some things happened. Flip the coin over, and we're heading in the right direction. We've got some money. We've got some investments. We've got some things that are going on. I think we've done a very good job also instilling in the kids something that was never instilled in me at that age, right? Volunteering. We do one day in May. Get the kids out there, give back to the community, and get involved in your community. I think those are things that will help us move back to a positive light within the district.
I think the district has done a fantastic job of hiring teachers and administrators who care. My kids still tell stories of different teachers that made a difference in their lives, and it's impactful. And knowing that we have these teachers and these administrators out there that care so passionately for our kids makes us stand out, I think. We have teachers that have gone above and beyond to where they were looking for ways to help less fortunate children by starting a group called FLY. The Marion teachers were very instrumental, and if you don't know what that is, it's feeding lunches to youth, and it's supplied, I think the last email I had was like maybe 12,000 lunches this year. Marion teachers were a huge part of that. They're the ones that went in. They're invested in these kids. They love these kids. And I think as a district, we need to be proud of them and those administrators out there that really go the extra mile for our kids.
We're doing pretty darn good, which is grammatically incorrect, and I can hear my daughter out in Delaware putting her fist on her hip going, Dad. All the way back to people like John Castle, huge leader in the business and political world, Harvey Sahlberger, world-renowned flute player, and we have modified and changed and kept step as we've gone all the way through. We have National Board Certified teachers on our staff. We have the Blue Zone designation. In fact, our people are so good, this is a backhanded compliment, that when our neighboring districts need somebody, they come cherry picking in our backyard, which doesn't make me very happy. But it is a compliment that we're drawing in very good, very qualified people, wonderful people. Our kids came through, had wonderful teachers they're still talking about, Dick Sloan in science, Andy Schindler. Those are part of the reasons our kids are both in the hard sciences. We're doing a really good job. We just want to keep moving it, and we need to spread the good word because we've been poor Marion too long.
Thank you, all 5 of you, for a great evening. Unfortunately, our time is nearing an end, but I would like to provide each of you an opportunity for closing remarks. We will begin with Dennis, and you have your 90 seconds for closing remarks. Don't go over 90.
Well, thank you for your patience then.
Thank you.
You know, we have a lot of improvement to do at Marion School District, and it's not going to be easy unless we can figure out how to get funding going in capitals. But, you know, it's a challenge, and maybe being up for that challenge is a good job to do. You know, I always felt that you should do something for your community. When you retire, whatever you do, you should volunteer for one thing and try to do a good job at that. And I used to be on the plumbing board, and it was all free gratis, never got paid. Then I was on the Metro boards and a bunch of other things. And then I was on the Parks Committee. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna try to help the school I graduated with and be a school board member and try to see if I can improve things for them.
Thank you.
So there's a philosophy that I live by, right? You can sit back and you can complain, or you can jump in and get something done. And so I have always chosen everything that I've done to jump in and get something done. I have lots of mouths that talk to me frequently about the problems and the struggles and the trials and tribulations of the Marion District and the woes, right? But unfortunately, I don't see them sitting here, right? Those voices are still at home complaining about something, and it'll always be something, right? I'm choosing to jump in and get involved. I volunteer a tremendous amount of time for the district already, and I believe that is part of what I am expected to do as a resident within the Marion District, right? Get in, get involved, and go figure out what are the real issues and help communicate it through that and help bring the message back to those that, for whatever reason, aren't sitting up here having their own 90 seconds. And so it's through that you know, I'd love the opportunity to sit and be part of the board and help influence change for the future.
I'm running as an example for my kids. When you see a need, it's time to do something if you feel that it's, you know, your passion and you're able to do it. I always tell my kids that serve where you can, do what you can, be a part of your community. So I run for my kids to show them that this is what you do when you are a part of something. And I run for the kids that I go in and volunteer. This is what community is all about. Being part of it, making a difference. You know, it's kind of the old adage, you know, put up or shut up. You know, it's just do it and just be out there and care about the kids, because they are our future. They are what we are all here to do, and it takes a village to raise those kids. And we are that village, and we're here to represent the rest of the village.
I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and giving up time on a warm evening. I want to thank our host tonight. I want you to remember kids first, and I challenge you to do 2 things. Go forth and spread the good word about amazing Marion Independent and encourage all of your friends to go vote.
I would just like to say that I have served on the school board for the last 4 years. I came in as a parent and still am a parent, of course. I do whatever I can to be involved with my children. People at work call me super mom because my children are my life, and I think each and every child that comes through the school district deserves the best possible education that this district can provide them with. So if I can have a hand in that and volunteer my time and be the voice, lend an ear, and I think we also have a great support system. We have a great superintendent on board. I think this district is going to have a fantastic year, and I just would love to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill, David, Shelley, Dennis, and Brent. I'm going off script here for a second, but to summarize the evening for me, what I saw was passion. And as a community of the Marion Independent School District, I think you saw passion in all 5 of the candidates. And I thank you for sharing your answers tonight. And as a member of the Marion community overall, I'm proud of what being a part of this tonight. So on behalf of the Marion Economic Development Corporation and the Marion Chamber of Commerce, thank you for attending tonight's forum. As you know, the decisions made by our local school boards have great impacts that critically shape policy and overall quality of our local K-12 systems and broader community development. The job is now up to you as voters. Please remember to vote next Tuesday, September 8th. Thank you again to our candidates, and thanks to each of you for attending. We will be posting the audio from tonight's forum on the MEDCO and the Marion Chamber websites. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.